Hi all, welcome to the fifth episode of Entrepreneurs of Bharat podcast. And today we have a special guest, Dattatri Salagame, CEO of Bosch Engineering and Business Solutions. But today we are not talking about anything about business, but we are talking about a life journey of an engineer to a leader, or I would call it as a South Bangalore middle class kid. And that's something that we have been doing it. We are looking at bootstrap founders. We have talked with VCs. Now we are looking at what is a leader's journey, what are the trigger points. We will have a very casual conversation. There is no format to this in specific, and we want to understand from Datta and then the next generation of entrepreneurs, the students in rural India, tier 2, probably at least even if few of them can get inspired. I think we have served our purpose. Welcome, Datta, to the show.
Thanks, Pavan. Few corrections. Call me Datta because nobody in my life calls me with my full name, not even my parents. So, and meanwhile, we changed our company name to Bosch Global Software Technologies. I know when we were together, it was a different name. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
I really love the vibes here.
Datta, we want to do it in real location. That's the idea. Otherwise, in a closed room, I think even the people who are having conversation will get bored. So that's the whole idea. The first question, right? First, understanding or introspection. So I want to call this entire episode as an inner scorecard itself. And what was your earliest memory of winning? Was it a trophy or simply doing something that was right and feeling it gave you satisfaction? And we will come to failures, we'll come to your introspections. This is the reason why I'm asking this question, and probably this will lead to us to your journey as we go from.
I think your childhood wins is what you remember for a long time, right? So my perhaps, if I can use the word win that I remember and I relish a lot, is my first time I went onto the stage. I think I was 6 years age, maybe I was in first standard or so, and first time I went onto a stage, and I could survive about 25 to 30 minutes of a theater act, which was given to me by my school, and whole audience clapped, and I felt as if am as big a star as, I don't know, those days, Dr. Rajkumar, at the age of 6 years. So I felt as if I have conquered the world. I still remember, that's one of the biggest early childhood memories that I still gives me goosebumps, because you have a feeling that you can, you can express yourself in front of a large crowd, right? So perhaps that's one big thing. Also, maybe first time I won a cricket match, or first time I wrote something which got published uh, in a magazine. So some of these are very some things you hold very close to yourself.
Very interesting, Datta. Let me skip the questions which I wanted to ask you and take this, right? The satisfaction of seeing the claps.
Yes.
It's something bigger than money, bigger than promotions or your titles that we get. Uh, do you think the middle class upbringing uh, has helped a generation of entrepreneurs, and because they are not feeling privileged or entitled?
I would say, uh, if you have come from the world of constraints, you know how to thrive, right? If when you're in the world of abundance, sometimes you do not understand how to thrive in the world of constraints. So I mean, if I'm a 70s born kid, and 70s, I think the whole of India was middle class. There was hardly anybody who was called rich, right? Everybody was fighting for resources, and you had very few means of success. So I agree to some extent. If you have gone through that experience, you know how to thrive under severe constraints. Uh, I'm not taking anything away from people who have abundance, because I've seen wonderful, extremely grounded, very humble entrepreneurs who have made it very big. coming from a very, very affluent families. But there's a natural tendency of resilience and tenacity that gets built when you have fought for a lot of things, and when you are, in a middle class family.
This is the true Indian nature, right? And somewhere we are today trying to imbibe the rest of marketing about ourselves, building my own brands. Jita, again, let's go back. Let's go back. I think that's something that we love, and our viewers love these shorts about. We are sitting in Benki Cafe. Last time we had interviewed the founder, and he told a very good anecdote about his father. I know from a previous conversation, your father was a voracious reader.
Yes.
Can you tell me something about what is that influence in you from him to you, and what is that you carry till today on a day-to-day basis? Even when, again, let's not talk about decision making, day-to-day basis. We'll come to the leadership first.
Yeah, I think, while watching my father, the memories are very clear because I never associated my father with money. So I associated my father with very high virtues, value system, very high degrees of integrity, and very hardworking, knowledgeable, as you said, voracious reader, setting examples, someone who has been respected wherever he goes, right? And while he was not very affluent, so the value that I pay for respect is much higher than affluence. Perhaps that is something which I carry from him because respect is more important, and respect that you get out of acts that you do, uh, and also the I would call it as corporate dharma, right? The righteousness which you follow, whether you are at home or at office, it's the same, right? And what you get, the respect that you get because of that, is something I think I inherited from him. What just watching him, he was very how to manage things when things are going against, not in your favor, and keeping the inner calm, and having a philosophical outlook to life while you don't lose touch with the ground realities. Some of this, I think, without my knowledge, I got it from him.
And that's one of the reasons this part of the section of the podcast we want to call it as when runs doesn't matter. Fundamentally, I think the reason is that is also a cricket buff, and we want to look at the reflect the personality, your likes and related. See, at the end of the day, your like, your dislikes defines your personality as a person, as a friend, and as a leader. This is another personal question. Do you learn in your ecosystem of family, right? Be it with your spouse or your kids, the way you look at your relatives and friends, right? Has it changed over the years in terms of the way they see you, or you? Is it they are not just sometimes they will have to adjust, but how much of effort do you think as a person who is growing in a career has to put?
Hmm. Yeah, within your family
In
life.
your family life, because what are your friend circle? Because is it true the friends reduce as you age or as you grow, or do you still have a group of circle who are very close knit with you?
Yeah, I do have group of people who are very close to me. But you are right. As you grow in your life, your choices change, your priorities change, your choices change, and what you value will also change, right? At 25, perhaps you would love to go and really freak out with your friends, but as you go, you develop the different perspective of life and world. You would love different conversations, and perhaps you drop few, keep few. This will happen, right? And you normally keep those who resonate with what you think is right for how your perspectives are shaped. Coming to the family that you asked, family doesn't really care who I am, right? Family is a place where you're just yourself. Actually, you're humbled. You know, my wife many times tells, if you are a CEO, you're a CEO in a company, not here. and the house actually she is the CEO, right? You're fundamentally grounded at home, right? I can't say the same thing with relatives, because relatives sometimes have a very at a distance view of you, and suddenly they attach too many things. Some of my relatives even think I travel 5 days a week, which is not true. Many of them think I'm super busy. I work 18 hours a week. 18 hours per day, which is not true. There are a lot of perceptions that they form, which is not true because they're at a particular distance. But family has no qualms about it. They exactly know about it. As far as my children go, right? Actually, I learn a lot from my children, because if you see, it's multi generational. You will have somebody who's 20, you will have somebody who's 50 or 60, right? The belief systems and thoughts are so different in these generations. The best way to learn is to learn from your children, because they have a very different outlook of life compared to yourself. Now, if you don't judge, you don't want to judge people in the office, you don't want to judge your children too early, right? So if you're open minded, you learn a lot from them. Many topics. Actually, my daughters, who are 19 and 26, I learn a lot from them. What is right, what is wrong, what is good to say, what is not good to say, what are the different belief systems the world carries, the respect that you give for different diversities, and how you perceive humanity, how you perceive society. Actually, that's I learn a lot from my children.
So has it changed? Has it changed from your see? There is something that each of us do to grow in the perception of a growth in a corporate, startup, VC, or anywhere in your career, sports, right? There is an effort that has been put, there is a personality that has been built which nobody sees. People see the title, what you have today, or a Varshada Kannadiga, or something. Because today it's a fast paced world where people uh, pass judgments, be it appreciation or feedback or whatever it is. Is there something before you had before you came to a position of milestones in your career or whatever it is? Was there a course which you practiced in terms of like the focus area? Like I want to focus on this. This is the amount of assertiveness I want to be. I want to put it because the last episode we had a very nice statement saying that you cannot sit idle saying that I'm good at everything. I can't navigate the systems, but still I and feel sad that I didn't get this what I deserve. No, that's not how the world works. So what is that? Is it a sport? Is it cricket? Something that taught in like to be pushy or to not to give up or something? Is it something from a personal side that helps you and even till today that helps you take the decisions? Fundamentally, we are going again. I think we are getting into the second segment of your before you had the title and all these things, you did something right, which we want to know the students to know or the people who watch this video to know, which they can take it.
It's a long question. I'll try. I'll try. You know, uh, See, I think you're made of a particular layers, right? You as a person. Suppose you say, I am passionate about things, or you believe in, there's no shortcut for hard work, right? And you believe in determination, right? If you want to achieve something, you have to go after it. Resilience, tenacity, determination. Or let's say you would like to put yourself in the shoes of others and have empathy for others. Some of these are nothing to do with office, right? Because these are the layers which you are built of. Now we discuss the what's your center of gravity, right? That's the reason I say I use the word corporate dharma, which is righteousness across. Now, when you have these basics right, outcome is a byproduct. You don't come to office at any level. You don't come to office and start working thinking that, okay, I do this in return for something. You do this because you love it. That's the way you're built. That's your belief system. You take me and put me into some other environment, perhaps I would not do anything different. I would do again the same thing. Your basics are same, right? So that's why you pick the example of cricket, right? See, there are cricketers who play well in Test. They play very well in one day, 50 overs match. They also play very well in T20. Why? Because their basics are right. Because they don't reinvent themselves. They have the ability to reinvent themselves for the context, but the foundation is same. So for me, I think uh, what helped me was this foundation, where I always felt some of these are non-negotiable. You any work that you pick up, if you are not 200% into it, it's not worth doing it, right? Uh, if you are not pushing the limits, then you are not doing justice for yourself. If you don't attempt to become a better version of yourself on a daily basis, it's not worth it. So some of this is foundation. So for me, I think I never chased the title, but I used this for fundamentals, and the rest was a byproduct.
Is there the aspect of humility or listening or respecting people comes in, right? So when you grew up, you looked up to your father, you had this upbringing, keen in a sport. Do you see the Gen Alpha, right? The generation, they're extremely good. So, for example, some of the persons they gave me, they watched your TEDx video where they looked at how do you transition when there is a challenge or something like that. They're amazing. But do you feel, which I feel personally, even though I come from one generation below Gen Alpha, their listening capability or their ability to respect uh, the entire environment. They have an opinion about everything. Do you think that has changed and or it's a natural change from like we had from our previous generations?
No, I wouldn't judge them, right? Uh, we would be doing a big mistake if we judge the next generation, right? Uh, I wouldn't say that they don't. It's not a respect problem, in my opinion. I think their individuality is very high. Their degree to which they believe in something is very high. Their conviction is very high. Now, there could be a disagreement on the topic, how we believe in this. But are they disrespecting? I don't think they're disrespecting. It is just a very strong assertion of their identity, right? Which I think we need to respect. To be honest, I think you need a certain ego required, especially in India, to fight the rest of the world. I mean, we always say, right, our time has come now. Now, what is it our time? Is it this year, last year, next year? Well, I keep saying, when we see a Rishabh Pant playing or some young, cricketer playing in a game, we say this is young India, right? But when you get people into the corporate world or a professional work environment, actually we get the same guys. They're also same young India. But what changes? Somehow you see a big difference in the fighting spirit, resilience. So the Virat Kohli in them just vanishes when you come into the highly conditioned corporate or entrepreneur world. What makes them lose it, right? That's the reason I think I would say a certain degree of ego, I would accept it, even if it means, I mean, they may not fit perfectly into the work environment, but that ego helps us to fight for our place, in the world.
What do you think is missing when the same people who has that probably that ego is missing, but what do you think subdues them from showing their potential or something? Is it the environment? Like, see, I can understand, right? You will make them more comfortable because they like the personality, but not everybody will be. So, isn't it up to the youngsters to make themselves visible?
Yeah, absolutely. Because uh, I would feel this, if they have a burning desire to do something, which is matched with courage, right, and very strong belief, then they would not care. They will defy the system. Nobody can stop them, right? To a certain extent, generationally in India, we carry dogmas. We spoke about middle class, right? So the middle class dogma is, uh, let's say taking a big credit is fundamentally not encouraged, right? So running your organization on debt perhaps is not, encouraged. So how to overcome these dogmas? The dogmas of what you have gone through. Many of them are passed on by parents from, from what life they have led. But I believe if their value system, if their conviction is very high, they defy the system. They would surely defy the system.
It becomes an individual personality
The individual personality, but I think the least we can do as someone who can curate this environment is to really make them think big and have that fearlessness in them, right? Because India, as a society and as a several generations, we were looking at the West to say that we are here to serve, and we undermined ourselves for a long time. We didn't create brands that are benchmark to the world, right? Now it's time to do that, which means we need to start thinking very big, and we need to start thinking that we are as good as anybody in the world. For that, I think I would say certain degree of audacity, certain degree of brashness, certain degree of ego that I mentioned. I would easily tolerate that.
This is something important. So we would like. I was impressed. I was surprised. I was happy when I heard you talking about theater, going to schools. Second thing was uh, the open conversation that I had a couple of times with you was the authenticity, right? Authenticity of a conversation when you talk what you like. You are not talking what like because you are sitting in an environment you are supposed to talk. Let me call this, or let us call this a theater of self-discovery when we talk about the authenticity and the trust leadership aspect of it.
Yeah.
Before we come to this is a personal question. Have you ever faced, again, these are small aspects which will help some of these people, especially in tier 2. And we do not want to distinguish in India and Bharat because the whole idea is quality people are there everywhere and they will do it. Have you ever faced down where things were not moving right? What made you take stock of it and pick up and need not be everything was going on, but probably an instant which people can relate.
No, absolutely. I mean,
It can be anything in any of your ecosystem.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, in a long-standing career, it's not a linear, straight line, right? So you will have what you think are setbacks. So you will not have the perfect environment in which is given to you for you to flourish, or you will not get the role that you want, or even if you get the role, the environment around you is not the best. A lot of flux around you. I've gone through that, uh, and sometimes you also disagree with people because you believe in what you believe. So the disagreements can also lead to kind of misunderstandings and not standing for each other. Right? This can happen. I've gone through that, but I would. What stands with me is following. Right? I'm okay to have a temporary setback, but I would not compromise my what I believe in. I would continue to say what I believe in. I'm okay not to have what is perceived as some instant success at that point of time. I'm okay to wait, or I'm okay to change the environment that I don't like, but I would not like to compromise what I believe in. So, in my opinion, there are no shortcuts, right? So, I think like this: if others are thinking on you more than you think of them, that means what you're doing is right, correct? So I don't have to worry about it. It's only you have to wait for your time. Exactly like cricket. So that's why I draw a lot of things from cricket. Suppose the pitch is very seaming, the ball is swinging. What do? You wait for your time. You don't hit shots. You wait for your time. You respect the bowler. You play very carefully. The same is true in life, in corporate career, or whatever, right? So when things are not going as you perceive is right for you, you kind of calm down, wait for the right ball to hit, not really think and attempt a big shot and get out. So being in the game is more important, not quitting the game.
Wonderful, Dattatri. That's exactly the point, right? What you told. You have an analogy with cricket, which you like. Probably it's a passion for you. And in yours, this is my analysis, this is my view. I think the audience will have their own analysis. Uh, when you are in a moment, you draw inspiration from the fact, probably in Indian context, I think for the older generation, the Buddha Vishwanath, the Chandrasekhar, or a Patodi, I always draw inspiration from Patodi.
They're too, I mean, they're too old for me. Yeah.
I always remember this Patodi. He had one eye. He used to play cricket. He had no complaints ever. Amazing this thing, right? You don't have an eye. It's not a setback also. I think your analogy with respect to cricket is, I think, is one of the major plus for us people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because whenever you feel, I think, see, always, all of us will have our points where we have to push up. It's not about this thing, right? I think you're quick to respond to that.
No, sport has the best life lessons, right? It has the best life lessons. So is theater. Somehow I'm fortunate that cricket and theater, I love both, right? Both teach you a lesson. In theater, if you see, you practice you rehearse for 2 months. And what you do on that day on the stage with all other actors around you in that minute determines whether you did it well or not. The 2 months rehearsal doesn't count, right? Same is in life, right? You may be a great person, you may be very nice to people, but is one moment where you speak very harsh or you don't treat somebody well for 1 minute, then that determines who you are.
I think these are the great conversations we can have outside of the balance sheets, all the other aspects.
Now, balance is more important than the balance sheets.
So there's an instance that also where we have a family group, and I sent to my niece the old songs of Muhammad Rafi and all. Nobody responds. The rest of the messages they ping back me, everything. So what I realized was, if people of their status will not be more recognized anymore, what are we? So just to take that point as a key, do you at this stage in your life or your career or your whatever it is, what is this one thing that you would want to do or influence uh, group or a society, and what would be that? Because you are in a position where you can be an influencer in a big way, and what is that you are looking at?
See, I draw from this belief, right? So there are some cornerstones around which you operate. For me, what is very important is India believing in itself, right? Indians believing that we have to be as good as anybody in the world. Can we create brands that are some of the best brands in the world, right? Can we create institutions, businesses, products, services which are really benchmarked to the best in the world? Uh, can we brand our products like products from other parts of the world? It's just simple, right? All of us travel a lot. Now, when you are in a lounge or when you are transiting through, uh, uh, any of the stations, you don't see any Indian product. Now, these are not really out of the world, very deep tech products, right? You still look at buying them. Now, how many of our Indian products reach the rest of the world? Right? So, where do we have the disconnect? My hypothesis is that we are as good as anybody in the world, but what we lack is that we lack courage. One is conviction in what we think, we trivialize it ourselves. If I have a great idea, we start thinking, we trivialize this and think that this perhaps is done by somebody else already, or maybe somebody else would have solved it better than me. And who will buy this? So we immediately negate this, right? The third is, I think, our communication has to be world class. Because if you have a great idea, do we know how to tell a story to the world? It's very paradoxical, right? India has so many stories. If you see our mythology, such wonderful stories. But how many stories of entrepreneurship, how many stories of brands, how many stories of products, services that we tell the whole world? I feel every Indian has to be a lot more communicative, expressive, and many more storytellers are required. Now, how do you do that? So that is the reason, one of the reasons I'm trying to work with a school to bring theater, use theater as a medium to make our children very expressive, for them to get confidence, to speak what they believe in, whether it's right or wrong, and feel very confident in when they present to the world. See, in startup world, you have incubation houses where they teach you how to pitch, right? You help them how to curate your pitch to the investors. But I mean, if you meet an average somebody who is 22-year-old from US or Germany and other countries, the confidence with which they speak on their ideas is very different. Now, should we build this capability when people have become adults and already entrepreneurs, or you build this in their formative years when they are learning in schools and colleges, right? So that's what I feel. I would love to really help our children and society develop this courage, communication skills, storytelling for the world, right? So you should use, I mean, I would like to use different medium for that. I believe theater is a great medium.
Theater is a great medium. The reason why the storytelling aspect of it comes about. Uh, I have done museum theater as well, so and I believe that's where I also got uh, my ability to tell a story better. It's about communication is not the language, but it's about probably the impact and what you talk about, right? The stories that create impact fundamentally. Datta, before I go to something about the future next captains, I want to call it as next captains whom you think should have it as some of the aspects. So how do you think is that this generation looking at health as a status? For example, now the pickle ball has picked up, pickle ball has picked up, or gym. Do you think as a leader or as a the growth of an individual is also associated with health? It's a very different topic, but this is something that is being talked about these days. What is your view as a leader?
Absolutely. I think, everybody must spend time to maintain their fitness and health. One, because I would say you need to have a hobby, you need to play a sport, and you should go to the gym or a yoga or some fitness regularly. These three things are absolute. Of course, you need to read a book, listen to great music, as much as you do for your mind, you need something for the body. So, if you have to be agile in your mind, you have to be agile in your body. And today, today's 60 or today's 50 is 60 of the previous years, right? So you can do a lot if you're fit and healthy. So I would I would seriously recommend everybody. Health is so important. Not just health. To build this culture of fitness. Health is a byproduct, right? If you have a culture of fitness, you would you would be a very different person altogether. So because sometimes our mind runs like this. If you have a exam, don't go and play outside. This is a very standard, instruction you get from your parents, right? Oh, you have exams, don't go and play, right? So, or if you are very busy at work, first thing that you compromise is your hobbies and your fitness. I would think you should, set the priority differently.
Again, concept incidentally tomorrow is World Yoga Day, but as when you're evaluating someone, this dimensions also is important. It's not cannot be one dimension of this guy delivers. He has to deliver with impact, be a great storyteller, also be having a work-life balance. I think this also gives a message, right? The saying that nobody is telling you to work 24 cross 7. Be smart. Like some of, I think we'll go back to what your some of your relatives thought about it, working 18 hours a day, 20 hours a day. See, I think Datta, do you think has to be do you tell people it's okay to be imperfect, it's okay to be failing, no need to bother too much about it? How do you look at it?
I think it's very contextual, right? Some contexts have lesser room for failure. Some contexts you encourage people to experiment, right? But largely in today's world, you encourage experimentation. And when you are experimenting, some will succeed, some will fail, right? So I would say my tolerance for failure has gone up. I would be lying if I say I love failure, right? None of us would say that I love failure. But my tolerance for failure has much gone up. Because I was if you asked me 10 years back, I would have said, do we meet the KPIs strongly, right? Or 15 years back. But now I would say, hey, what is our alternate impacts? Not necessarily one dimension impact. So I think for sure my tolerance has gone up. There's no doubts about it. But I think it's also about how do you choose your bets. Right? When the wisdom also lies in choosing your bets, because you know that the success rate is 10%. But if you pick your 10 bets, how wise you are in picking those 10 bets, so you increase the probability. So I think we need to encourage experimentation. I wouldn't say encourage failure. I would say encourage experimentation as a culture.
Do you say that the risk take again? It's natural. The risk taking ability in this age is higher than when you started your career. Uh, but do you also think the competition is high now than when you started off? If you have to start as something fresh now,
See, it's the same question that often gets asked in cricket, right? Who is a better cricketer? Virat Kohli, Sachin Tendulkar, or Gavaskar? Right? Gavaskar played without a helmet to West Indian bowlers who used to bowl at 150 kilometers. And Tendulkar scored 100 centuries in an era where we did not have heroes. And Virat Kohli showed how to fight and win going to Australia, right? I think, success is like history, right? You should not compare the eras. I wouldn't compare that because each era had their own challenges. Again, I wouldn't associate risk-taking ability to generation because I have seen a lot of contradictions. We sometimes say we associate everything with age or generation. I don't think it is straightforward correlation. There's a higher probability, but it's not a directly correlated topic.
uh, what makes you calm under pressure? Is it something personal, a hobby, or something which probably is like you're built over a period of time and in this kind of situation mentally?
I mean, I have a simple phenomenon, right? I have spoken many times. I just look at what you can control. I would say control the controllables, right? You know that you cannot control everything. So focus on what you can control. The rest will fall into place. Right? That's a prioritizing on what you work on. But other things could be again, it goes back to how you deal with complexities, right? Again, your exposure to sports or your, let's say, uh, how you regard philosophy or spirituality. I'm a very, I, I, I believe, I pray to the God. I have my own way of spirituality, and I'm a bit philosophical. So there are many ways where you balance it out. Right?
I personally believe the spirituality aspect of the emotional quotient aspect has helped me. Do you think that spiritual quotient again, it depends on person's choice and whether he wants to also has helped you?
Absolutely, no doubts about it. Because I mean, all of us need some anchors, right? To which we go and charge ourselves. You need to go back to the charging station and charge ourselves. For me, the anchor is something which you feel, which is much bigger than all of us. So for sure, it has helped me a lot.
If you were to pick in a group that the people who would make impact, right? Yeah. I think probably summarizing the entire discussion, what I would say is like someone who has that urge to be a go-getter, communicate that storytelling, different forms. Theater, cricket is an example which you gave, which helped you. Uh, Aspect of health is important because that is becoming a social status in the younger generation.
Yeah,
Which is good. Which is good. Which is good. Which is good. Being open, I think authenticity. I think if we come back to authenticity, being truthful. Yeah. The best aspect, what you told me was, I'm ready to wait, but I'm not ready to give up on my belief system.
yeah, absolutely.
Right. I think that's where recently we had one of the stories told. The CFO took, I think it would have got aired by the time this podcast comes in. CFO took money from the VC and put it in some market, and the company went bankrupt. And so there are weird kind of cases.
There's no shortcut, right? You have to
So
go through all the 9 years.
It's hard work. It's the tenacity of purpose, what you believe in. Again, this is an amazing conversation outside of the regular framework of business models and
Yes.
everything. I hope you enjoyed it. But before we leave you, one book. Since I'll come back to your father, and this thing. One book that has inspired you, which you have read, you want to recommend, can be a Kannada because you are a Kannadiga, and I read a lot of Kannada books. I am a Kannadiga as well. So the reason is, I believe reading helps us. I have read this. I keep telling us hard things about hard things. It's been unbelievably great book in helping me understand my personality. One book from your father's and one book that you are reading now.
So actually, my father has a library which was very big. Okay, we had books on all religions in my house, and it had all flavors. Right, some of the books I remember picking up and reading was The Search in Secret India, which is about coming to India and searching for a guru. Right, finally ending up in Ramana Maharshi's ashram. It was very fascinating. I read it when I was young, but uh, the search for the guru in a very ancient India by this Westerner was interesting. Right, I read it long back. Also, the story of philosophy uh, was a very very interesting book. Going because I love history, I love literature. So many literature books now coming to Kannada, right? I have thoroughly enjoyed reading, for example, Kuvempu, Shivarama Karanta, S.L. Bhairappa. I think I've read many of their novels. Some of them are so good that you are so moved, I mean, you are in their world, right?
Apparently, S.L. Bhairappa was my mother's professor, so I've read all of S.L. Bhairappa's books. He's a revolutionary. See, I think for the audience, right, what books does it builds your personality.
Yeah, because when you read some of his novels, actually you go through that life context. So wonderful books, right?
We will do a separate Kannada podcast on Kannada books. That's a difference.
Actually, the theater that I'm doing for the children now is actually a 1 hour drama of all the 8 Jnanapita Award winners of Karnataka, uh, with a question: why we have not won the Jnanapita Award for the last 15 years. So what is required for the next Jnanapita Award to be won by a Kannadiga is actually the substance of the theatre act, and the children will perform this for 1 hour in a school by end of the year. So we are actually preparing them for that.
I think this is again. I didn't follow all the questions. Sorry to the team. My team. But I picked up some of the questions. The conversation I had, there is a purpose in life. There is a hobby. You are not chasing one materialistic, not to sound philosophical, think of a title. And even when you have the title, you are still involved in the other activities. This work-life balance, right, and your mental tuning is so important today. The reason I'm stressing on this, Datta, is also because there's so many mental apps today because of mental challenges that mid-level crisis people's career were having are facing because they're chasing a role, they're chasing a designation. I recently one of my friends called me and said that his Sunday is lost because someone else got a promotion in some other company.
Okay.
So I'm amused by some of these conversations. They treat me like, no, you're raised funds. Can I come to your, what do you call it? Can we talk to you? Some of the questions was self introspection also in terms of like, how are you looking at things? I think a classic example of how a leader should balance, stay grounded. Wonderful having you, Datta, in this conversation, and we will continue this with you in different engagements.
Sure.
Forms. This is for Bharat. Real location. There was some mixer grinder sounds in between, so we will use the noise cancellations to do it. Thanks a lot, Datta. Thanks.
Thanks, Pavan. It was a very different format for me because I'm always used to talking in boardrooms, but now sitting in this lovely cafe with very different vibe.
Startups here, there are different people who are doing coffee tasting here.
Absolutely.
And we ensured Datta also didn't have the jacket. I think.
Yeah, I removed my jacket. Lovely talking to you. I think if we would do a great service if we create more job creators than job seekers.
Yes.
I hope this conversation would have given somebody somewhere, some ideas to be job creators.
There was a request in the last conversation to translate into different languages. We are going to do it in Kannada and different local languages as well. That's the idea. AI is there to help us there.
Yeah. So we end by saying cheers.
Cheers to.
Yes.
Thanks.